This is all I'm going to say.
And I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Well, hello, it's me, Super Jesus Jackson, your favorite man-child, back at it again with another video. This time, it's a sort of review slash analysis slash, I don't know, just venting about what I wish could have happened with The Exorcist Believer. I usually don't do a lot of these videos anymore because they don't really garner a lot of views. I'm just going to be honest with you. But every once in a while, there's an exception. And in this case, it's an exception. So, The Exorcist Believer, I just saw it yesterday, this weekend. As in, yeah, yesterday, because today's Sunday, whatever. I saw it yesterday at like 10 p.m. You know, perfect time to watch a scary movie, right? I was excited for this movie up until the point I realized who was directing it, the quality of the movies from that director, and recognizing that just the idea that they're doing a sequel to one of the greatest horror movies of all time, if not the greatest horror movie of all time, a sequel to a movie that didn't really need one, but yet again, this is sort of a, what do they call it? It's sort of a reboot, but not really. It's like sort of kind of in the middle. That was already sort of a red flag, but hey, you know, things can be good. It can happen. We've seen it before. But I guess the biggest thing was the fact that everyone was hating on it. You know, the early reviews were coming out and people were shitting on it. So it wasn't looking good for The Exorcist Believer. But I am a hipster and I always like to check out things for myself. And usually if a lot of people say that they don't like something, I always try to sort of be there and be like, well, it's actually pretty good. It's pretty annoying, but it's just what I do. Sometimes it's natural. Sometimes it feels like I really believe in that opinion. And other times I feel like I may be just thinking that I think that way, but I really don't. I don't know. That's a whole other fucking tangent. But point is, expectations for this movie were really low, okay? The first time I saw the trailer, I was like, holy shit, this is a great trailer. But I had to remember, this is Hollywood. So they're going to make this trailer look like the most amazing thing ever, and that's what it looked like. Yeah. So I was not very excited for this movie. But in many ways, right, it's like, okay, my expectations are low. So, come on, it's not like my expectations are high, right? So going in, I should be fucking flabbergasted in a good way. Yeah, let me just say, besides the intro Dwayne The Rock Johnson meme video that I started with, another way that I could express how much I was disappointed with this film is it was one of the first times ever, very few times, like really, this is like, I don't know, the third time or second time, where I have felt like I wanted to walk out of the theater. Like, it's that bad, okay? And the real fucked up part is that the first 20, maybe up to 30 minutes of the film is actually pretty decent. And then it just fucking starts snowballing to madness and awfulness and disappointedness. That's what this film is. I'm just going to do a little mini review here, okay? This is what I'm going to do. I just need to tell you how awful this movie is. It uses the fucking font, okay, from the original Exorcist, which the original Exorcist is the greatest horror movie of all time. If you don't like The Exorcist, I don't think you are supposed to like movies, okay? That's how firmly I believe in the greatness of that film, okay? But they were using the font from the original Exorcist. The style of the logo and just the way that, if you see that movie, the font that they use in that movie, that's what they use in this movie, in Believer. They did that. They started it in sort of a similar way with dogs attacking each other, sort of set in Africa / the Middle East. That is where this movie starts, which is just a fucking disgrace. I get it, it's a sequel, it's just nostalgia bait. That is what this is. And in fact, I was sort of almost calling it in the trailer, with the addition of Chris McNeil, of course, and the odes to Reagan. Of course, right? I still went to go see this fucking movie. But they're using the font. They're using the same way that the original Exorcist begins. It is bizarre. Like, just in a bad way. And it's so fucking disappointing. I can't believe they did that. They end the movie with just an absolute, I don't know, waterboarding. I don't even know why I have to use that. Am I even allowed to say that on YouTube? Fuck it, whatever, I said it. They use the Exorcist, theme song from the original movie, right? They use that. They sort of rehash it. They did something quite interesting in the same way, in the way that they made it sort of major. They made it sound kind of happy in a certain part of the movie near the end. But then they went back to the original, sound of it, and then they use the font again, the Exorcist font, and they end with that song. I don't give a fuck. Okay, I'm sort of spoiling it for you. I'm not going to absolutely tell you everything, but in many ways, once I get to my analysis, I might have to spoil some shit. So just letting you know. But right now, in this little mini review segment, that's what they did in this movie towards the very end. And I mean, granted, I wanted to walk out of this fucking movie around, halfway, a little bit earlier than that. But definitely once at the very end, I just yelled audibly. I was like, this is the biggest piece of dog shit. Like, I cannot believe they fucking did this. I mean, I was irate. Like, internally, I was raging. And it was pretty bad. I usually don't do that. I'm usually very, composed individual. This is the quintessential example of a movie that is just money. 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 Dinero. Money. That is the point of this entire movie. And it wasn't done with respect. It was a slap in the face, okay, to everything that we love about the original Exorcist. They tried to do some shit here and there. They tried to, the way that the exorcism was going on and what the possessed were doing. It was just everything that they were doing, for the most part, that was trying to, do an homage to the original Exorcist was a joke. Okay, it was a joke. This is a disgrace of a fucking movie. Okay, for anyone that has any amount of love for the first Exorcist, this movie is a fucking disgrace, okay? I am just so mad. I'm so mad that it got made. How the fuck did this movie get made? Again, money. Hollywood, okay? Even fucking the actress that plays Chris, right? The mother of Reagan. She said on record in a book, I did not want to be in this movie, and they were raising the money that they were going to pay me over and over and over and over again. And the only reason I did it was because, fuck it, fine, I'll take the money and I'll use it for a cause that I really, really want and I feel like the world needs. And she did that, and she fucking appeared in this movie, and you can tell she does not want to be in this fucking movie. I mean, she does a great job. She does the best she possibly can. But my God, I mean, it just didn't feel right. There's a lot of bullshit story-wise, okay, in the way that they shoehorned her in this movie. But, okay. As for my final thoughts of this mini review part of the video, it's dog shit, okay? That is what this movie is. If you're a hardcore Exorcist fan, I suggest you watch this movie because it's a fun ride in the sense of how much angry can you get? How angry can you get in this movie? It's a good challenge, okay? Because the movie will win. It will absorb all of your anger and then give it back to you, and then it will piss you off even more. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but what I'm saying is, if you're a hardcore Exorcist fan, you watch this movie, but do not fucking go to the box office. Do not go to the theaters to watch this movie. Do not give this fucking shit money. And this is what's even more fucking anger-inducing about it, is the fact that its budget is like $30 million, and it probably was another $5 or $10 million in advertising. So really, like $40-50 million movie, it will make its money back, or at least it will break even. And the sequel's already fucking greenlit. It's called The Exorcist Deceiver, set to be released in 2025, and then it's set to be a trilogy. But these movies, scary movies, specifically horror movies, they have great budgets because they tend to be very simple. And this movie will most likely at least break fucking even. I hope no one fucking goes to watch this movie. The good news, when I went to go watch this movie, perfect time to do it. Saturday night, 10 fucking p.m. I mean, people were there, but it was not packed. I'll tell you that much. It was not packed, which is a good sign, people. Good sign. Do not watch this garbage. For those of you who are hardcore Exorcist fans, if you don't care about The Exorcist, what the fuck are you doing on this video? What are you doing? I love you. Go watch my other videos. But, or maybe you hate me. I don't know. God, but if you're a hardcore Exorcist fan, wait for this movie to release to streaming, then give it a look, then watch it. Do not give this movie money. Do not. Do not be compelled to do so. Let me compel you to not. The worst part about this is that it could have been good. That is the problem. That is also why it makes me so fucking angry, is because at first when you watch the whole movie, you are just you are in such a shock, in such a disgusted shock, that you hate it so much. But then you really think about what they were trying to do, and you're like, holy shit, it could have been a good film. It could have been a good film, especially because, again, the first 20 to 30 minutes were decent. And so that's really what gets me so mad. So, I wrote some shit down. Okay, we already did the mini review. Okay, how I felt about the movie. Okay, look. The first Exorcist, let's talk about it just for a bit. The first Exorcist, part of the reason why it's great is because not only is the dialogue great, the script is great, which The Exorcist believer, script is dog shit, plot holes everywhere. Let me just add this back to let me just go back to the mini review a little bit, okay? I'm sorry. Dialogue sucks, plot holes, story is just, it does not stick the landing. We'll say that, okay? Yeah, it's dog shit. Anyways, back to my analysis. The first Exorcist has this premise of evil being primal. That's how it begins in the very first fucking scene, which again, the believer starts with it in a similar way, and it's a fucking disgrace. But The Exorcist starts sort of with animals fighting each other. It's a very creepy beginning. It's very like ambient and very kind of primal evil beginning, right? It's showing just the animal kingdom just fighting each other for no fucking reason, right? It's just violence for the sake of violence, right? And it's telling you right from the very beginning that evil is primal. And then we have Father Merrin, finding an archaeological, piece of history that is sort of demonic, right? It's an example of a demon from the past or whatever it is, right? Pazuzu, the name of the demon, right? But it's set in stone, right? No pun intended, right from the very beginning that evil is primal. Evil has been here longer than any of us, as in that present time. But it's evil is there, right? It's as primal as nature. It's been there since the dawn of time. And that is a great fucking thing, because in many ways it universalizes The Exorcist. It's not just about what you believe in and what you don't. Evil is evil, right? It makes it kind of objective. It's really badass. This movie begins in the same way, which is just, again, a disgrace, but it could have been justified. It could have been justified had they stuck the landing, but they didn't. And so here's the thing. The movie, The Exorcist Believer, it sort of almost kind of assumes, right, that we all think of evil as this kind of primal entity. You know what I mean? That just evil is evil. Satan is sort of always tempting you. It's everywhere, right? But the movie tries to do something different and unique in the way that it tries to do it tries to provide the opposite factor of that equation, which is that goodness is also universal. Goodness can be found everywhere as well. It's primal in the same way. And it does this by sort of really hammering down the idea that in every religion, every culture, and this is where Reagan's mother comes into play, where she's done all this research, and she's like, I have found that all cultures and all religions share a common theme, share goodness, faith, hope, the belief in not giving up, right? And in just the pursuit of goodness, right? That every religion is that, but also, most importantly, every religion has the aspect of people. People. That's the universal aspect of every religion and every culture. The goodness in all of us and the existence of people, of community. That's what it does, right? On the surface level, not the worst thing ever. Providing this sort of opposite argument, right? Presenting that evil is primal, and also, if we're going to do that, well then, goodness is primal as well, right? But see, the first Exorcist sort of implies this sort of in the same way that this movie does, kind of reversed, in the sense where this movie doesn't really hammer down the issue that evil is kind of universal. It hammers down the issue that goodness is universal, whereas the first Exorcist, I would say, hammers down the idea that evil is just sort of everywhere, and evil is this primal force of nature. But goodness is there too, and it's implied, and we have to find it in the movie. This movie tries to do the opposite. It just doesn't do it well. It doesn't execute it. It's cringy. The way that they deliver the message is cringe. It doesn't work. It's not good dialogue. And who mostly says this is the fucking Reagan's mom. It's bullshit. It's a fucking disgrace, okay? I like what they were trying to do. I get it. I get the idea. And this is what leads to the, the exorcism aspect of the movie, where all of these different religions and cultures, these different people, even atheists, a couple people who don't really believe, which I thought was interesting, they're all in the same room. And they all, because apparently the fucking Catholic priest wasn't able to fucking do the exorcism because he's a coward, which is another thing. But all of these people from different creeds and cultures, they gathered together to save these two girls, right? The two girls that are possessed, which again is a brilliant idea. Have two people who are possessed, and they're sort of bonded together. They're friends, and they get possessed. Oh God, which brings me to another fucking aspect of the movie, which yeah, the two possessed people, the two girls. Before we get to that, but yes, they have all these different creeds, these different people sort of gathered together for the common goal to save these two girls from, basically dying of fucking possession, right? I get it. It's a cool idea. I get it. I don't necessarily like the fact that, because it's 2023 and it's Hollywood, they try to be inclusive about fucking everything to the point where it just gets so muddy. Like, inclusiveness is great and all, but when you can't tell your story effectively because you're trying to fucking shoot onto every cylinder possible and you're not honing in entirely on one theme or message, it just becomes murky, it becomes muddled, and it's a mess. And that's what this movie was. It was trying to do so many things. It was trying to cover all its bases, and it effectively tells nothing at the very end. And if it does tell something, it's bad. It's badly done. And so, but I like the idea, right? Especially because sort of the woman from, I think it was Haiti, she was Haitian, the way that she does her sort of rituals and sort of exorcism practices was interesting because it ties to the main character's wife and how she was into that. The main character is sort of an atheist, right? And so we know this. Hopefully, if you're at this part of the video, you have seen the movie. Or maybe you don't give a shit, which I appreciate you checking this out. But yes, the main character is sort of an atheist, right? Especially after his fucking wife dying in this earthquake. But his wife sort of believed in sort of Haitian culture and the way that they handle spirituality and all that shit. And, sort of in a way to redeem that, the widowed husband sort of, embraces this idea, okay, my daughter's in trouble, something I can't understand. There is evidence that has presented itself to me that this is legit shit. She is possessed by something evil. So he is inspired by Reagan's mom to bring in all these different cultures and different people, different belief systems to counter this evil, right? And one of those people that he brings is the Haitian lady that practices those Haitian spirituality practices that his wife loved. And so that's cool. It's a way to sort of bridge the gap between his lost wife, and himself, right? You know what I mean? Like it's cool shit. I like it, okay? But then they bring on a lot of these other people, which is fine, I guess, but the problem is that there's just too many people, not enough screen time given every single individual, which brings me to the fact that the two sort of main characters of the film, not just the daughter and the dad, but the other girl who's possessed, her family is not given enough screen time. We sort of think of them as the assholes, and they very much kind of are. They end up doing the shitty thing. But we just don't feel for any of these people. And I understand that, the main characters of the movie, the father and the daughter, they are the primary people that we're supposed to care about. And, they live in the end, right? Whereas the other girl, and her family, she dies. But her family's kind of, they're kind of assholes. And so, but we sort of see that sort of at the beginning of the film. But also the dad, even the dad's kind of the main protagonist is kind of a dick too. But you know, the thing is that if you're gonna do a double possession movie, I think it would have been great to have some more screen time for the other family as well. This movie was 2 hours. It felt like fucking like, I don't know, it felt like an hour and a half, which you think it would be good, but it's not. It's not a good thing. But I would have preferred to give more screen time to that other family. You know, to make us feel for that family, to make us feel for that psychological aspect, because at the end of the day, the exorcism is the most important part of the fucking movie, because it's the exorcist, and when you have the two victims right then and there trying to be exorcised, or, you know, people trying to exorcise their demons, you have to care about the fucking people that are going through this shit. And when you only care about half, it doesn't work. And so that's sort of what happened in this movie. But I appreciated what they were trying to do. They just did not give enough story time, screen time, to the other half of the exorcism. Okay, we'll just say that. I like the idea of a double exorcism. That's cool. That's interesting. And especially, I like the idea of having, especially, this was what's interesting, right? Is that amidst all of these families and different creeds and religions, and the fact that, yes, they all have community, and they all have people, and they all believe in a higher purpose, and that's the common goal, and all this shit. And then the evil is just evil, which in this case, actually, which I thought was interesting, the demon got to these girls sort of because they were, you know, trying to communicate to the dead in the same way that Reagan in the original Exorcist with the Ouija board was trying to, you know, contact sort of the dead. That's sort of a common thread here. It was done differently here, which I appreciated, you know, not just a fucking Ouija board. The thing here is that amidst all of the things that the movie was trying to do, gathering all these people, right, it was interesting that the exorcism, you know, at the end of the day, in order to exorcise this demon, this demon was telling these people, was testing these people. Any good demon in an exorcism movie tests its exorcisers. I don't fucking know. Exorcists. There it is. You know, like, that's what it's about, right? In religion, right? Jesus is tested all the time, right? Everyone's tested. You know, the devil is everywhere, right? We're tested all the time. And so that's cool, right? And so in the exorcism scene, everyone is tested, and it's pretty cool. It's a psychological thing, you know. Any good possession, exorcism movie, or whatever the fuck, is a psychological movie. That's what the first one was. And so was the third. And that was, you know, so that's cool. And that's in this movie. They just don't execute it well because the buildup wasn't there. The psychological aspects that we got in the exorcism scene did not punch that well because the movie didn't build up to these things. It tried to shoehorn all of these things in the final act, in the third act of the film, and we're supposed to care, and we don't, okay? There's that, okay? Sort of, you know, an example, right? Fucking one of the girls was like telling to her dad, you know, you don't believe. You're not a believer, you know, and I know you didn't want to have me, right? You preferred my mother over me, you know, like, that's some good shit, right? Same thing with the other girl. She was sort of fucking with her own family, saying that she was not the one that her family wanted to have. She was sort of the forsaken child, right? And so that's cool, right? But in the end, the demon here wanted to test all of them and test their goodness and ask them, you have to sacrifice one of these girls. That's how one of them will be saved, and that's how we'll get the fuck out of here. And obviously one of the family, the Caucasian girl, I don't know her name. This is how bad the movie fucking is that I don't even know the fucking characters' names. So the Caucasian girl, her family, they chose her. They wanted her over the black girl, right? And that's how we know that they were assholes, right? And so, but she ended up dying, right? Boo-hoo, right? That's the devil fucking tricked you, right? That's what it is. And so that's pretty fucking cool, right? This choice of two families, they had to decide between their two daughters, right? That's cool. Like, either mine lives, yours dies, or vice versa. That's really fucking cool. I really appreciated that. Again, the problem is that the build up to this entire, for the whole movie up to this point, just was not there, you know? Again, filled with a bunch of plot holes, filled with terrible dialogue, a disgrace to the original Exorcist characters. And then on top of it, the fucking the cheap-ass jump scares, okay? They just throw fucking images at you just to fucking scare you. Sort of homages to the original Exorcist, some of those images. Some of those images are just fucking bizarre and make no sense at all. A lot of cool effects and imagery. They do the floating thing again, of course. They do the fucking sort of green vomit a little bit in the end. It's fucking terrible. Okay, nothing unique. They're just doing the same shit, which, again, look, if you're going to do this and you're going to include elements from the original Exorcist and put it into Exorcist Believer, if you're going to do it, have it be a good movie. And it wasn't a good movie. That's the problem. Look, if you want to put some green vomit in there, if you want to make them fucking, float, cool. But do it unique, in a unique way, and have the story be good. And it was not good. So all those things just missed, right? That's the thing that hurts the most, is that all these ideas are cool. Bringing all these different religions and different creeds and sort of universalizing the idea of the belief in God and goodness and people. That's great. But again, it was kind of cringy. The movie had this sort of sense of like, yeah, all together, all for one and one for all. And we can beat the demon, if we're all just joined together. And there are some consequences, like the Catholic priest dies, right, as we saw, because he's a fucking coward. The white girl dies, so like there are some consequences, but the film is just laughably bad, at the very end, and laughably terribly bad in the sense where you're laughing of sadness and anger and frustration and just sarcasm, and you're trying to make fun of this fucking movie and all your laughter. That's how this fucking feels. I probably have more thoughts, and I'm just losing my fucking train of thought just because I've just gone on for so fucking long. But it could have been good, okay? I'm not here going to tell you that it didn't have potential, because it did. All the pieces were there, okay? Double exorcism, cool. Different creeds, religions, awesome. Universalizing goodness in the same way that the Exorcism that the Exorcist as a series, as mythology, universalizes evil. Great stuff, right? Having atheists in there, cool. The psychological aspect, cool. But the way they do it is by throwing a couple flashbacks here and there at the very end in the third act about things that happened prior that you didn't see, but now it's supposed to fucking hit. Now the plot's supposed to be great because they fucking showed you those things that they should have shown you fucking earlier in the movie. They show them there, so the psychological aspect of the exorcism can be rounded out, but it's not. It's bullshit. It's a cop-out. Oh, man, it could have been good. It could have been so damn good. And it got to the point where, because it's 2023, some of the technology, the voice technology that they have to augment these girls' voices, we know that it happened in the original Exorcist. I don't know, for some reason it just becomes kind of like gimmicky now. It's not as special, And again, a lot of that just has to do with the fact that the original Exorcist is just a fucking masterpiece. And a couple of other possession movies have lived up to it. The first thing that comes to mind, of course, is The Conjuring, the first one. It's pretty fucking great. Very Exorcist-like, but it's great. So it definitely is possible, and it could have been possible with this fucking movie, Yeah, and then, oh my fucking God. Just, again, Reagan's mom and how Reagan comes back in the movie. She just left her mom. So much fucking bullshit, fucking Reagan, Reagan's mom having no idea where Reagan is because she ran away because Reagan's mom wrote this fucking book about fucking multiple different cultures and all this shit, and then Reagan's mom has the idea of going to help this family, and then she puts herself in danger. It doesn't make any sense, and then Reagan comes back, obviously, at the very end of the movie to Reagan's mom, and to her mom, right? And then they embrace, and you're supposed to fucking, oh God. If you watch this movie, please. Which also, Reagan's mom, her character, again, just a complete disgrace. It's not accurate to the strong female, okay, that she was in the first Exorcist, okay? That does not live up to it. Just not. She is dumber in this film. She does things that make no sense. She sounds dumb. The script is terrible for her. It's just terrible. Diminishing how badass she was as a character in the first Exorcist. Okay, just gonna say this, okay? And there's one line that she says in the movie that was just like, there's no coincidence that line, along with her appearance and the reasoning for her appearance, was when this movie just started going downhill. That's when it happened. And it's a disgrace that it's when the fucking character from the original movie showed up in this movie. You would think it was supposed to be great, right? But no. And it could have been good. It could have actually been good, right? Because in a world like that, you know, where the fucking Reagan exorcism happened, it would have been a big fucking deal, right? Like, I mean, it would have been a big deal. Like, if there was another exorcism happening, or another possible possession, she would be contacted. That does make sense in that world. So again, it could have made sense, but the execution was just terrible. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just the thing that they were trying to go for with all the religions and all the cultures and stuff like that. It was unnecessary because they almost had no, like, there was no, like, it didn't feel like because they were all together, like, it's like, okay, if you want to hone, you know, hammer down the idea that, you know, family and community is what beats evil, well then have that beat evil, but it didn't ultimately. It didn't. It was unnecessary. Their contributions to the exorcism was, at the end of the day, not consequential and pointless. If you've seen the movie, let me know in the comment section below what you think of this movie. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I really want to know your thoughts on this one, guys. Check out my scene reaction analysis to The Exorcist. It was the best scene from the movie. I did a reaction and analysis to it. Check that out. But, yeah, I'm annoyed. I've gone on for too long. I'm sorry. But those are my thoughts on The Exorcist Believer. If it's your birthday, happy birthday to you. Share with your Exorcist-loving friends. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video, or if you enjoy other videos that I do, or unsubscribe if you hate my content. That's it for me. You all take care. Stay safe. And until next time, I love you. I do. And I'm going to go watch the original Exorcist, because it's way better than this dog pile of shit. All right. Have a good one.